Mark Zuckerberg is ending third-party fact-checking on Instagram and Facebook in what looks like a ploy to appease the new president, Donald Trump. It's putting him at odds with the EU and has raised concerns from human rights groups who fear an increase in hate speech. So, is Meta making the right move? Hello and welcome to Roundtable. I'm Enda Brady. Now, the largest social media company in the world, Meta, is replacing third-party fact-checking with X-style community notes. It's being seen as a way to improve relations with the US President Donald Trump. But should politics and social media really mix?
It's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram.
A U-turn from one of the biggest names in tech. The removal of third-party fact-checking on Meta's Instagram and Facebook platforms. The timing just days before Donald Trump returned as president.
The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. But the fact-checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US.
Trump has previously threatened Mark Zuckerberg with life in prison, after he admitted taking down content following pressure from the Biden administration. The connection was not lost on the incoming president.
I think he's directly responding to the threats that you have made to him in the past with
Probably.
Meta introduced fact-checking in 2016 to combat the spread of misinformation and fake news during that year's US election campaign. The decision could have consequences for Meta users outside of the US.
Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down.
The EU has rejected Zuckerberg's claims.
So in other words, we absolutely refute any claims of censorship on our side.
Human rights groups argue the undoing of the Meta system could increase hate speech online.
I think it's a really shocking announcement from Zuckerberg, and it's a really blatant attempt to cozy up to the Trump administration, and it's likely to have really harmful implications.
While no immediate announcement to end the fact-checking outside of the US has been made, and Trump now as president, will Meta's plan be the beginning of more Trump-friendly content and less alternative voices online?
Well, let's bring in our guests. In Bristol, we have Will Guyatt. He's a technology journalist, and he also used to work at Instagram and Facebook. In Zurich, Switzerland, we have Carina Schuster. She's a technology journalist. And here with me in the studio is Dominic. He's the founder and CEO of the social media app Supernova. Carina, I'll come to you first. Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, they've chipped in on this. They say it's all about profit, chaos and control, and they've accused Mark Zuckerberg of normalising hate speech. What do you think?
I think that's a very interesting remark and definitely a very interesting statement. But as a tech journalist, I can definitely say that fast-checking can ensure that the content that we are seeing online, it's definitely getting checked. As we have, for example, according to the Pew Center research, more than or approximately 60% of users checking their news online, especially on Facebook. So definitely, I think that as journalists, we definitely have a lot of responsibility to ensure that all the information gets checked using fast-checking tools. And definitely, I think that also from the business standpoint, definitely these technologies are building these products that are also getting used by millions of users. So definitely, I think it's also a challenge for them at the same time to ensure that all the content is getting fully checked. I think that we need to revise a little bit what fast-checking is and how important it is. And other initiatives that I've seen here, for example, in Switzerland, we have a lot of activities as the Editathon, that it's an event done that is going on like twice a year, where journalists and also other students are reunited to fast check and also to ensure that, for example, on Wikipedia, we have a lot of pages that are getting unchecked, and this could definitely profoundly affect all the information that people are gathering online. And I think that definitely this is a very, very important tool. And I really agree with the statement that censoring people, it's not the solution, but definitely ensuring that there are some respectful laws that people need to respect. They need to keep a very respectful tone, especially also on, or for example, when we see it on Instagram, a lot of content is also labeled, for example, AI labeled in case that the users are using artificial intelligence. So definitely those are small steps that people are doing to ensure that the content that we see online is getting checked.
Thanks, Carina. Let's bring in Will. Will, just come into me on the words that Harry and Meghan used there. Profit, chaos, control.
Yeah, I'm surprised Mark Zuckerberg didn't turn up with a full MAGA, Make America Great Again hat on. He's done a complete 180 on where he was at. And this is all about power, and it is all about money. It is about appealing to who is in power, a Republican with more conservative views. And it's also about seemingly saving his company billions of dollars a year. He doesn't like the fact, Mark Zuckerberg doesn't like the fact that countries around the world are challenging Meta and other social networks for misinformation, for not being proper citizens in those countries in terms of offering protections and doing things by countries' laws. So by going all in with the Trump administration, he's hoping that he's going to get backing to stop what he would call interference in his business and we would call responsible operation. And yeah, that's all about saving money, and that's all about betting with siding with the right horse, betting on the right horse, however you'd like to refer to it. You know, there's 4 years ahead with Trump, and if Zuckerberg decides his platform is going to become more masculine and it's going to drop fact checking because that appeals to Trump, he's going to do it.
And Will, just to be clear on this, if Kamala Harris had won the election, Zuckerberg wouldn't be doing this, would he?
Nick Clegg would still be in charge or would still be second in control at the company, and they'd probably be introducing greater measures of fact-checking and protection on the platform. It was quite startling just how quickly this move came. We all sort of expected it was happening when he visited Mar-a-Lago. But the most interesting thing for me as somebody who worked at Facebook and Instagram and still have a number of friends and colleagues there, it's putting others in a tremendously difficult situation. People who fought for years to fact check, get accuracy, get the right information on those platforms, to have that all literally torn down in front of your eyes by your boss who's saying it's okay for people's feelings to be hurt on the platform is just ridiculous. It's terrible. I said it was the worst day of my 20 years in tech journalism, and I haven't changed that assessment.
Dominic,
yes.
Facts are sacred. I was taught that from day one as a young journalist starting out. The facts are sacred. We now live in a world where misinformation is rife, and you've got a guy like Zuckerberg who runs Facebook and Meta, has such power, he's not that bothered about facts.
You know, seemingly so. I mean, I think those three words from the Sussexes, I think there are three little words that I would see apply here, which are TikTok, Trump, and money as the drivers of this, really. I think the TikTok piece is the ban that's coming up, and we don't know whether they're going to be banned or whether they're going to be sold or quite what's going to happen. But it looks that the entire audience of this enormously successful social network in recent years will be in play. So there's that. And I think, you know, so far as, you know, the Trump piece is concerned, Zuckerberg wanted to signal to him that rather than the Mark Zuckerberg of old, you know, the one that he was going to put in jail, this is a new Zuck, you know, a MAGA Zuck, a $900,000 wristwatch-wearing Zuck that is absolutely right behind you. So if you are putting anybody in jail, you know, it wouldn't be me. And if you are banning TikTok and you need someone to run it, well, you know, I'm your man. I could be your man. So the money piece is that he's really obviously rich enough already. You know, he doesn't need any more money, but he's very good at making it, and he's very good at making it for other people.
And he wants to keep it.
Actually, he wants to keep it. And I think his calculation, this is a shrewd operator, and I think his calculation might be that so much as he might lose some users in the short term, people that actually like facts, like you suggest, so as long as he might lose some of those, It might not be that many, and those that he loses, well, he'll just see them come back from these billion people that are in play from this TikTok development that's going on. Be that because he gets the license, or be that because he's a stable option as a guy that's now on the right-hand side of Musk, or of Trump.
Well, just on Musk,
one to the right from Musk. It was his most recent arrival on the
Is Zuckerberg a little bit jealous of that relationship, do you think?
Well, I don't know if he's jealous of that relationship, but it's certainly a relationship that he's looking to emulate. He is basically saying, look, I'm not like old Zuckerberg. I'm more like new Zuck. I'm more like your buddy Elon. You know, you can count on me. It's that kind of language, I think they're saying.
Carina, what price mental health in all of this? This is another point that Harry and Meghan raised in a really scathing statement, that these huge, big social media bosses, they don't seem to care very much about users' mental health.
We've seen a lot of people advocating for mental health issues. And I definitely, as a tech journalist, I think that we've been the target very many times when it comes to, seeing these trollers online, definitely trying to troll a lot of journalists and a lot of people. And that's why I think that it's very important to have clear rules here. And also thinking about the censorship and emphasizing also on the so many challenges that we are tackling and we are going through at the moment, especially how everything on social media is changing, and also the geopolitical landscape, having an emphasis also on the political landscape. I think that, turning back to your point on mental health issues, I'm really curious to see how these decision makers, or how these content users, these content creators, and also these journalists are going to face these situations, having to change, for example, to go to different platforms, as we've seen the TikTok ban at the moment, and how they will have to readapt their content to other platforms, and also how these can definitely affect the algorithms and also their data being protected. So definitely, I think that when it comes to exposing your content online, you want to ensure, for example, with the deepfakes and the technology evolving, that you're also being protected. So I think that definitely the mental health plays a huge role here, but at the same time, we need to ensure that these people, they do not care just about making money, as we've been discussing before, because they are not just technologists, they're not just tech experts, but they're also business makers. Because, I mean, when you make such an investment, when, for example, you've been supported by very important political figures, like in this case, for example, Trump, and you, of course, you also supporting him at the same time, of course, that you care more about your business, that at the end of the day, that's how they're making money.
Thanks,
but at
Carina.
the same time,
I want to bring
yeah.
Mark back. I want to bring Will back in. Will, you worked for Mark Zuckerberg. Just talk me through what it was like there, the decision-making process. This will not have been done overnight. He's clearly a very intelligent man.
I work with Joel Kaplan too, and the only thing I can say about Nick Clegg's replacement is he didn't get my sense of humour remotely. That's the only negative thing I can say about him. He was a shrewd operator and a fast worker. This will have been planned. They would have prepared for this. This has probably been in discussion since before they even knew the election result. But it was clear that they knew, I think, that the writing was on the wall for the way things were being operated in the US. I also think Mark Zuckerberg was probably quite scared / intimidated by Donald Trump in some of the conversations that they've had. One of the most interesting things for me here is I hope this doesn't mean that all of the good work and conversations that are going on about protecting users, that are going on about, challenging these companies, holding them to account for keeping people safe on them, don't get lost. That's my prime fear here, that Mark Zuckerberg is going to feel confident, emasculated by Donald Trump. The very fact that Mark Zuckerberg has, in the last couple of days, announced he's laying off 5% of his staff and low-performing members of staff and replacing them with new people who he feels are better. Now, that's perfectly legal in US employment law, but he's done it rapidly because he feels encouraged and he feels supported by, the new most powerful person in the world.
And Will, you know Kaplan well, you worked with him. How do you think he will differ from what Nick Clegg was doing in that role?
He is a Republican. He is a Republican that worked for George W. Bush. He has very clear rules that the company shouldn't be interfering and deciding what's right and wrong. He feels very strongly that Meta's platforms are platforms. They're not a media owner. So he's suggesting that they're not in control of what's posted on them. They can just do what they can to try and keep users safe. He's obviously got direct line to very senior people in the Republican Party, and he's very clearly been behind the scenes brokering this deal, which meant that Mark Zuckerberg can go from being threatened to be arrested and locked up by Trump to going to Mar-a-Lago for a nice steak dinner.
So in short, a political appointment.
100% a political appointment to react to what was going on and keep Trump and the Trump administration off of Mark Zuckerberg and the company's back.
Dominic, to you, the European Union has this new Digital Services Act, which is groundbreaking and it's world-leading. How can the EU now kind of tackle or regulate Facebook if they're not even going to check facts?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, they've given themselves this power. They've given themselves this leverage. And so we have to hope, really, don't we, that they will somehow exercise it. They will use it. They will use it to the protection of all users of social media, because there are an awful lot of us. You know, there's 5 billion of us around the world that use social network products every day. 3 billion of them use his. And we are told that there's a tier, there's a layer of safety that till now we've had, you know, in the shape of fact checkers and content moderators who are now being, that whole area is now being talked about as censorship versus moderation, by the way. The whole language of it and tone of it suggests that, yes, we need more governmental protection than we've had hitherto. So let's hope that some of these levers are used, you know.
Carina, to you, do people believe what they see? You know, you can see some outlandish stuff on Facebook, for example. In the world we live in now with AI, it's very easy to generate fakes. Do you think people believe everything they read when they log into social media?
I think that's a really good question again, especially when it comes to, I think about these elderly people, especially, for example, when we think about our parents and how they are navigating this digital landscape versus how teenagers or the alpha generation or the beta generation, starting from this year, they will evolve and they will definitely navigate through these gadgets online. I think that definitely, as we've been discussing also, and we've been hearing at the World Economic Forum, one of the biggest threats is definitely misinformation and disinformation. And also with the rise of this new technology coming in the market, I think that it will definitely be more challenging even for us journalists to determine what's fake or what's new. But one of the platforms that I've been seeing online, for example, when it comes to news polarization, is Verity News. That has been actually, one of the co-founders is Elon Musk, and the other one is the founder of Ethereum. And I think it's really interesting to see, for example, how you can see both the narratives coming into play. And I think that rather approving censorship, I think it's definitely better to see both sides, because as a journalist, you really need to do a lot of research. And this is also part of the mission, to research on misinformation and disinformation. And I think this platform is also AI-based. It's definitely working with generative AI and machine learning. And I think it's very important to emphasize what we could do, what are the next steps. Definitely, it will still be a challenge. And I think that definitely we study journalism, traditional journalism will still be, the traditional ways to do research. I think that people really need to emphasize also that, okay, we've been using these digital tools, fast-checking tools, but at the same time, we really need to go back to traditional ways on researching as well. I think that's the emphasis.
Thanks, Carina.
But the risk is enormous.
Will, surely a bigger problem for Facebook is that young people aren't on it. Never mind Donald Trump coming in. Young people don't use Facebook anymore.
You see, this is what everybody gets hung up about. And I would tell you, and we've already said that there's over 3 billion people using Meta's products on a daily basis. Lots of people in our game get very excited about X and Elon Musk. It's an absolute irrelevance. It's less than 600 million users globally on a good month. And that's depending on who you believe or don't believe on the numbers. But the very fact that young people have potentially moved away from Facebook doesn't mean they've moved away from Instagram, and it doesn't mean that they're not on WhatsApp. You've just got to look at the rounder picture here rather than just thinking about Facebook. Yes, Facebook's user group has got older and it continues to get older, but it's still growing globally. It's not in a decline at the moment. So when you get hung up on if it's young people using it, it's not the most important thing about social media now. We've all got older, the world's got older, and it's not just kids using social media.
Dominic, you run a new platform, Supernova, which
Yes.
we've spoken about in the past on Roundtable.
Yeah.
Have you noticed an uptick in numbers in recent weeks then?
Absolutely. I mean, coinciding up with the famous video from Zuck on the 7th of January. Yeah, we've seen an upswing in usage, in downloads. And these are all, I think what's interesting about that is these are all people, we do no marketing at all. These are all people that are finding us organically through searching on Google. And I understand that, I think it was in TechCrunch, that searches on Google for, how do I close my Facebook account? The numbers went up to an index, a level of 100, which is the highest possible reading for searches on Google. And meanwhile, search phrases like, ethical alternative to Instagram, which Supernova is the #1 organic result for that globally, went up about 5,000%. So people are, seeking out, and in our case, finding
And joining.
alternatives. And then if you look qualitatively at what people are saying on the app, because we saw this happening, so we thought, well, why are they doing this? Ask them. So, we put out a couple of questions on the app, just a couple of posts. And the response that you get is completely consistent and unanimous. They're coming because they're just fed up with the toxicity on Meta and X.
And do you have
others.
fact-checking then? Do you screen for content?
Yes, absolutely. We have 24/7 human moderators that moderate for, toxicity is actually our #1 driver. But also, yes, where we see something that under that we would say, that something which is plainly non-factual or misleading would be part of the toxicity that we're looking to eliminate. And it's spelled out on our charter. And what we find is that we're so clear and we're so specific about this as you go in through the door that people kind of know the drill. They know what to do. So we don't have a lot of antagonism. People are coming to Supernova to escape antagonism and toxicity,
So it's
not create a whole new.
A kinder, nicer
It's
platform.
a kinder, nicer platform. It's a new era for social media. And people are, they're not escaping a place that they've gotten fed up with to go and create the same old problems. They're going there because they want a more positive experience, and that's what we're building on.
Carina, just final couple of points really to you. Can you see the European Union cracking down on Meta and maybe cracking the whip a bit to get them into line and to make them check facts?
What I can see here is that definitely they will be taxed regarding the way that they will handle the situation here when it comes to fast checking. As I was saying before, I think that definitely we are going to a shift and we are going to a change. And definitely I think that here there's like a lot of political strategy going on. So I think that they really need to ensure and that everything that we see online goes actually fast checked. I think that's very important, especially with a lot of new technology being built and also with the deep fakes and a lot of frauds. I think that we are reading through the news. So definitely we need to, I think that the EU Act definitely has a lot of potential to protect users, and at the same time also to really ensure that there's no censorship, but at the same time everything goes fast checked.
Thanks, Carina. And finally to Will. Will, given your knowledge of the company and the men at the very top of it, do you think they will be in any way worried about the European Union and what they might react with?
I'm Yeah, they will be, but I'm pretty sure Donald Trump has assured them that he will deal with whatever problems are faced. I truly believe we're going to end up, or EU particularly, will probably end up in a trade war of some sorts with the US over social media. Trump is going to start suggesting that the EU is unfairly taxing US businesses, and that's very much the narrative that's been being placed here. And my biggest fear is that because of this politicization of the issue, users are really going to suffer. And whilst I'm really pleased that we've got new rivals and new people coming into the space, the reality is you have to encourage people to stay and stick on and use those platforms. It's a bit like the new veganism. Everybody likes to talk about leaving Meta's platforms. There's very little evidence that they stay away forever. And if they leave one, they end up finding themselves on another. And Zuckerberg, Kaplan, and all of those others involved in that business know that.
Well, thank you so much, Carina and Dominic, too. Fascinating insight. Remember, you can see more discussion and debate on our YouTube channel. Just search for Roundtable, TRT World. But for now, from me, Enda Brady, and all of the team here, goodbye, and thank you for watching.